No one expected this from Joel Tudman. For years, he's been known as the calm, collected leader, the kind of man who always seemed to have it all figured out. But recently, he made a move so bold, so unexpected, that it sent shockwaves through his entire circle. Friends were blindsided, followers were confused, and insiders are whispering that this decision could redefine everything he's built. Was it a strategic step towards something greater, or a risk that could cost him everything? Behind the smiles and the sermons, there's a story unfolding, one filled with quiet tension, unseen struggles, and a choice that might reveal the real Joel Tudman for the very first time. Stay with me, because what happens next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about him. Today, we uncover the untold story behind Joel Tudman's bold search for something bigger. What sparked it? Who's been shaken by his decision, and the ripple effects that no one saw coming? What started as a quiet pursuit for a better opportunity soon spiraled into a series of events that left even those closest to him stunned. Stay with me till the end, because what unfolds next might just change the way you see him forever. Joel's journey didn't begin with a public announcement or a sudden move. It started in silence. Behind closed doors, he began questioning everything: his position, his purpose, and whether he had reached his true potential. Subtle signs soon appeared: longer nights at work, hushed phone calls, and a distance that friends couldn't quite explain. This wasn't about chasing a paycheck or a title. For Joel, it was deeper, a calling for growth, challenge, and something meaningful beyond comfort. He started cutting away distractions, guarding his energy, and pouring everything into what could become his next big leap. What no one realized then was that this quiet search was about to set off a storm that would change everything around him. What most people don't know is that Joel's search for something new didn't happen overnight. It was calculated, quiet, and far more daring than anyone expected. Behind the scenes, he began exploring multiple opportunities at once, making discreet phone calls, reaching out through private channels, and digging deep into every possibility that could open the next chapter of his life. But here's where things take an unexpected turn. Instead of chasing the predictable choices everyone assumed he'd make, Joel's moves revealed a far more strategic, almost mysterious plan. So the real question becomes, what pushed him to take such bold risks? To truly understand, you have to look past the polished image and steady paycheck. On the outside, everything looked solid: stability, respect, a good position. But behind closed doors, Joel was battling a quiet frustration, a sense that he had outgrown the walls around him. The recognition he once earned came slower, the opportunities fewer. He felt his talent being boxed in, his potential dimmed by routine. This wasn't rebellion, it was restlessness. A deep, gnawing feeling that he was meant for more, and if he didn't act soon, the chance to rise higher might slip away forever. This produced a sense of urgency for someone with his level of drive. Then there were outside forces. His classmates and colleagues were making rapid progress, seizing chances that he might have previously taken advantage of. It was evident from the competitive atmosphere that waiting for the ideal opportunity could result in his completely missing it. Joel was aware that if he wanted to guarantee anything genuinely revolutionary, he could no longer afford to be passive. However, motivation was insufficient on its own. Joel's quest was made more difficult by a number of challenges. Certain opportunities necessitated relationships he did not yet possess, while others required taking chances that many would avoid, such as quitting a stable job, moving, or even venturing into areas in which he lacked sufficient experience. In addition, friends and colleagues gave contradictory suggestions. Others cautioned him about possible setbacks. Others urged him to take decisive action, pressing him to act now before it was too late. In spite of these obstacles, Joel's approach was systematic. He carefully considered the risks and potential rewards of each option. He was willing to push boundaries in ways that shocked others around him, but he wasn't reckless. According to insiders, some of his actions were already attracting the attention of powerful people in his field, but few realized the scope of his goals. This is where it becomes even more fascinating. Joel was investigating several opportunities that were not widely known. He was keeping his plans under wraps and negotiating in secret. Tension was increased by this secrecy. Every phone conversation, every meeting, and every small move had to be planned to prevent giving up information that may be used against him by rivals or even coworkers. It's evident by now that Joel's quest for a better opportunity involved more than just landing a new position. It was about taking back control of his career, reframing his course, and setting himself up for something much greater than anyone could have imagined. The real surprise, however, The real surprise, however, is revealed in the following chapter when we learn about the precise opportunities he contemplated and the unexpected path he finally took. A lot of people thought he would choose one route, but his decision completely went against the grain. Joel Tudman started Levi went against the grain. Joel Tudman started pursuing several avenues at once, each with its own potential and danger, as his search grew more intense. Some were traditional positions that offered stability and gradual advancement, much like the ones he was already very good at. Others were daring, out-of-the-box actions that may elevate his career or force him to start over. A senior position in a well-known company in his sector was among the first opportunities he considered. On paper, it looked perfect. An important promotion, more pay, and a platform to increase his impact. Joel soon discovered, however, that there were drawbacks to this route. He had to fit in with the politics and systems of the time, which went against his vision. Although accepting it would result in short-term benefits, he would not have the long-term influence and creative control he desired. In the meantime, another choice surfaced, a new company that promised quick expansion, creativity, and the opportunity to make a lasting impression. This was a dangerous chance. The startup has no track record, failure was a very real prospect, and funding was limited, but there were huge potential rewards. Joel was drawn to the opportunity to influence the organization's course and carry out concepts he had long envisioned. According to insiders, Joel thought of entering completely different businesses while assessing these prospects. These were fields in which he had limited first-hand expertise, but where his skills could be applied. Many coworkers were shocked by his willingness to venture outside of his comfort zone because they thought he would stick to what he knew. It was a calculated risk that combined courage, ambition, and foresight. This is where the story takes a turn that most people didn't expect. Joel tended toward the unusual rather than the safe, dependable route. Even though it meant leaving behind everything he knew, he made the decision to go after the opportunity that offered the greatest potential for growth. Friends and coworkers were taken aback. Joel's choice wasn't hasty, but some wondered if he was being careless, while others applauded his audacity. It was the result of weeks of study, discussions with reliable advisors, and a thorough evaluation of the possible results. He considered the opportunity to truly make an effect, long-term career trajectory, and personal fulfillment in addition to monetary incentives. There was a lot on the line, and one mistake could have fatal repercussions. Joel acted decisively in the face of uncertainty. He started making alliances, negotiating arrangements, and getting ready for the changeover in secret. Every action needed to be exact. The entire scheme might be at risk from a single leak or error. Nevertheless, he moved forward with assurance, driven by a distinct idea of his goals. This is the bit that most folks didn't anticipate though. Joel encountered internal struggles and unanticipated opposition from classmates, mentors, and even some close relatives as he made progress toward this new possibility. They cautioned him about the possible consequences and asked whether this audacious course was really the best one. Joel had to carefully balance ambition and diplomacy while navigating these emotional and professional obstacles. It became evident at the end of this chapter that Joel Tudman was seeking more than just a better opportunity. His entire future was being reshaped, and the next phase of his journey, the time he publicly made his move, would completely change how other people saw him and leave many in shock. Joel Tudman's decision to pursue his new chance had immediate and significant repercussions. Coworkers, business insiders, and even bystanders were left wondering what his choice might mean. Some found it to be inspirational, a display of bravery and ambition. Others found it confusing, a dangerous bet that might have unanticipated consequences. Reactions varied throughout his professional circle. Since few people have the courage and clarity to make such a big change, some of Joel's mentors commended his vision and tenacity. They viewed the action as purposeful and well thought out rather than spontaneous. These backers urged him to seize the chance with all of his might, telling him that great things frequently necessitate taking risks. But not everybody was persuaded. A number of colleagues and close friends voiced their worries, wondering if Joel had misjudged the dangers. They were concerned about the stakes for their reputation, the possibility of failure in an unproven setting, and financial instability. Joel's path became more tense as a result of these warnings, which had him face his uncertainties and balance his own future goals with those of people he valued. The public rapidly learned about Joel's move through social media and industry outlets. News outlets conjectured about his intentions. While some portray the move as a daring reinvention, others see it as a last-ditch effort to stay relevant. This attention was a double-edged sword for Joel. On the one hand, it demonstrated his potential and ambition. Conversely, it increased attention, exposing every move he made to public inspection and opinion. Joel's move had early, telling results. He started establishing strategic alliances and a network that supported his objectives even before he fully assumed the new position. These relationships gave him early confirmation that his choice was not just audacious but also wise. Those who had first questioned him began to see glimmers of his potential in this new role, which strengthened their belief that he was headed in the right direction. However, the trip was anything but easy. Almost quickly, challenges surfaced. There were moments of self-doubt, practical challenges, and unforeseen negotiation roadblocks. Joel had to handle conflicting expectations, negotiate intricate relationships, and make difficult choices that were irrevocable. Resilience and meticulous planning were needed at every stage. Joel's resolve, however, simply strengthened in the face of these obstacles. He viewed losses as teaching moments, honing his tactics and changing his strategy to guarantee advancement. Many onlookers were unaware that his accomplishment wasn't due to chance. It was the outcome of careful preparation, measured risk-taking, and a readiness to accept uncertainty while keeping long-term objectives in mind. Joel Tudman's decision was clearly more than a change of career by this point. It was a declaration about vision, ambition, and the bravery to go after goals that most people only dream of. The exciting part comes next. Even while the initial outcomes were encouraging, some of the most significant repercussions of his choice had not yet materialized. The unforeseen difficulties, rivalries, and possibilities that resulted directly from this audacious decision will be discussed in the next part, along with the reasons why some believe this to be the turning point in his career. Joel Tudman's quest for a better opportunity was not without its challenges. Despite his careful preparation and strategic actions, he encountered difficulties that put his patience and determination to the test as soon as he entered the early phases of this change. Unexpected rivalries were one of the first significant challenges. New initiatives are rarely overlooked in cutthroat fields, and Joel's goals caught the interest of those with vested interests. His foray into uncharted area was perceived as a threat by some contemporaries, who attempted to thwart his advancement or showed tactful resistance. According to insiders, several people who had previously viewed themselves as allies turned into rivals virtually overnight, which complicated talks and caused conflict in what had appeared to be simple possibilities. Joel also ran across internal strife among the groups he wanted to join. Disparities in vision, leadership philosophies, and operational approaches persisted despite offers being made. He had to use both professional and emotional intelligence to navigate these disputes, understanding when to stand by his convictions and when to make concessions. Errors in this area could endanger not only the current opportunity but also his credibility and standing in the business at large. The strain was exacerbated by logistical and financial difficulties. Making the switch from a steady job to a new business frequently involved making sacrifices. Adjusting short-term income, moving, or reallocating resources. Joel had to make sure that his long-term objectives were not jeopardized by short-term constraints. By carefully balancing his aspirations with pragmatic realities, one incorrect calculation could have ruined the entire scheme, and the stakes were tremendous. Joel demonstrated resiliency and flexibility in the face of these challenges. He didn't back down in the face of opposition or unanticipated obstacles. Rather, he looked for creative answers, made use of his connections, and improved his approach. He was able to transform possible challenges into opportunities by taking a proactive stance. Conflicts with rivals, for instance, forced him to find distinctive differentiators which gave him an advantage in negotiations and helped him build a stronger position than he had originally thought. Joel had to make a crucial timing decision, which was another important turning moment. Being the first can be just as crucial in competitive sectors as having the ability. He needed to decide if he should speed up his motion, taking measured chances to gain a significant edge, or moving cautiously to prevent needless exposure. Every action has greater repercussions during this critical time due to the pressure to make the right decision in the face of uncertainty. Joel's ability to maintain concentration in the face of chaos was perhaps the most appealing feature of his trip. Throughout this chapter, a less disciplined person might have been derailed by personal misgivings, public scrutiny, and professional friction. But Joel kept coming back to his vision, the reason he had begun this quest in the first place. He was able to overcome obstacles without losing steam by maintaining focus on the long-term objective. The tension, however, increases at this point. Even after conquering these obstacles, he was still in for more surprises. Unexpected chances presented themselves, partnerships that may expedite his objectives, initiatives that appeared to be a perfect fit for his experience, and opportunities in fields he hadn't previously thought about. Unexpected dangers also surfaced at the same time, reminding him that ambition and uncertainty frequently go hand in hand. It should be obvious by now that Joel Tudman's path is more than just a tale of professional growth. It is a high-stakes story about strategy, fortitude, and measured risk-taking. The most pivotal moments are still to come, and every victory has been earned. The results of his decisions thus far will be shown in the following section. The responses from his network and the reasons why this decision might be a game-changer for everyone following his path, not just for him. Joel Tudman's search for a better opportunity started to show results after months of meticulous preparation, measured risk-taking, and overcoming unforeseen obstacles. These initial findings, which included a mix of victories, surprises, and lessons learned, provided both confirmation and insight into the potential consequences of his choices. Joel was recognized by prominent people in his profession, which was one of the most direct signs of success. Coworkers, rivals, and even doubters started to recognize the strategic insight in his choices. According to insiders, his action generated high-level discussions and, in certain situations, opened doors that had previously been closed. This early acknowledgement showed that Joel's audacious strategy was gaining traction and that his measured risks were beginning to pay off. Joel not only received praise from others but also made quantifiable development in concrete ways. The strategic alliances he had discreetly developed started to pay off. Weeks later, chances that had seemed doubtful began to come to pass, and he gained early victories that confirmed that going the unorthodox route was the right one. His confidence was also bolstered by these outcomes, which demonstrated that careful preparation and taking calculated risks could pay off. But there were some bumps in the road. Some coworkers and onlookers are still dubious, wondering if Joel's early achievements would last. The competitive environment is harsh, and maintaining momentum calls for constant work, flexibility, and the capacity to see problems before they become serious. Joel needed to stay alert and realize that early victories, although encouraging, were only a small portion of a much more complicated and extensive path. Joel's personal development was another important component of these early outcomes. He developed vital leadership, negotiating, and strategic thinking abilities by venturing into uncharted area, confronting competitors, and making difficult decisions. This development not only improved his standing now, but also put him in a position to take advantage of chances down the road that he might not have thought of otherwise. According to numerous insiders, this time may have characterized him as a leader who could thrive in an unpredictable environment, an uncommon and extremely valued quality in any industry. The network effect of Joel's transfer was possibly the most unexpected development. Other chances, some of which were unanticipated, started to arise as a result of connections made throughout this change. People who had previously been on the outskirts of his career path began to take on a more significant role, providing resources, guidance, or teamwork that helped him advance more quickly. This knock-on effect illustrates how a single audacious choice can affect not just one's current circumstances, but also the larger context of opportunities and professional relationships. Nevertheless, difficulties still exist despite these early achievements. There are still some issues that need to be fixed. Behind the scenes, negotiations are still going on, and rivals are adjusting to Joel's strategies. The stakes are enormous, and the next stage of his journey may decide whether this audacious choice completely changes his career or introduces new, unanticipated risks. The mix of vision, bravery, and resiliency is what makes Joel's tale so captivating and why it speaks to so many people. He has shown that it takes more than just ambition to pursue a better opportunity.